Well, I was going to say I'd rather than because I know that Emmy was really hoping for feedback, and we're already missing a few people. So I'd say I really don't have much. So I'd say focus the time on Emmy if that's cool with everyone else.
All right, awesome. So Giglets Garments, Emmy, big pitch day tomorrow. You wanna do a 30-second recap for everyone? What's happening?
I'm pitching. Sorry. So I'm meeting with this guy that works for the community foundation. And Sven was like, "Oh, you should just put together a pitch." So I did that. So I'm hoping to be very impressive.
Why are you pitching there? What's the program we're
right
here?
Right. They have like an impact investor program focused on like Southwest Florida for-profits and nonprofits, I think. So I'm kind of going in with the angle of my vendor, then my supplier would be in Sarasota for my fabrics, and potentially looking at it the angle from helping out the retirees in Southwest Florida. There's like 200,000 or something, and that's probably just only full-time retirees. So yeah, it's basically just to see what he thinks about it. It's a guy that Sven knows, so it's probably not as serious as I'm preparing for it to be.
Well, so even if it's not, it's still great practice.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So it sounds like obviously that's local. Is it in person?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, we don't know how serious it is, right? But like so what they're basically doing, it's an impact investing fund. They're looking for triple bottom line businesses. And I was just talking to him, and then it dawned on me that, with Emmy's new pivot, that is kind of a triple bottom line business, right? So I was like, hey, I think, it would be great for you guys to talk. So we set up a meeting, and instead of just going to talk, we figured, well, let's just try to make it a pitch, right? And see how much we can get done and structured by then, or Emmy can get done and structured by then, and get as much feedback as possible, and see if there might be a fit, and what else would be needed to be considered for something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that, you want to just launch into it?
Sure. Let me see if I set up my screen sharing.
These pitches, so what's the time that it's allocated for them? Is it like a 5-minute, 10-minute thing, or longer?
Well, we have an hour meeting. He doesn't even know we're pitching.
Okay.
Unless he's watching tonight's stream, then he might know.
Yeah.
All right, I'm only seeing I'm only seeing this screen. Yeah, okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Go to present mode, yeah.
Okay, so I just wrote this like script out. So if I am reading a little bit, sorry, I'm not entirely I literally just, it's not even finished actually. But yeah. So Giglets Garments, yeah. So Giglets Garments is all about reducing textile waste by extending the life cycle of secondhand clothing. And I want to first open with a question for you guys to think over for the next few minutes. And that is, what did you do with the last article of clothing that you outgrew, or the last time you kind of purged your closet? Sorry, that was too slow of a transition. Whoops. Oh. I'm starting over. Damn it, this is on a live stream.
So quick feedback there. If something happens, and it almost always does, just force it through. The good thing is, usually your audience doesn't know what to expect. They don't know that there was a mistake or that the slides are out of order. So just act like nothing happened.
Okay. Okay. Geekless Garments is all about reducing textile waste by extending the life cycle of secondhand clothing. I want to first pose a question to you that I want you to think about for the next few minutes. And that's, what did you do with the last article of clothing that you outgrew, or the last time you purged your closet? Whether that's clothing you outgrew that got ripped or stained, or you just didn't want anymore. So we've come up with a way to upcycle discarded textiles, such as clothing and linens, into usable material that can then be easily turned into artisan handmade products by underemployed people. And our next step is to build out several potential methods to figure out the best market fit. So the problem is, the answer to your question was probably either, I threw it out, I threw the clothes out, they were stained, why would I keep that? Or I donated them. That's the best thing to do with your old clothing, right? The problem is the rate at which the average American currently goes through clothing has led to a massive amount of textiles ending up in our landfills. Around 14 million tons annually in just the US, to be exact. And about 80% of the clothing that we purge from our closet ends up either being burned or in the landfill. You might be saying, well, I always donate my used clothing and it's basically new, so I'm sure someone will buy it and wear it. But only 10 to 20% of donated clothing is actually sold in retail stores as is. Unfortunately, you're often just delaying the inevitability of your clothing ending up in the landfill. Usually clothing that doesn't sell is either shipped overseas, downcycled into rags or insulation, or ultimately thrown in the garbage. So we want to divert this clothing that can't be sold on the sales floor and use it as raw materials to create new products that are handmade, high quality, and competitively priced. We're focusing on creating yarn for hand knitted or crocheted products of different varieties, or creating pattern pieces that can then be easily sewn into many items such as stuffed animals, dog beds, hats, bags, you name it. And this little bundle on the left here, that's just like a fraction of one warehouse's stock of secondhand clothing that they process in a day. So it's a crazy, crazy amount. So how can we do this? As I said, we developed a few different methods, and there's several paths forward. So we'll start off with donating clothing. And we're actually able to source the unwanted clothing that people donate that won't end up being sold again for 70 cents per pound. And then we process that into yarn or the pattern pieces. And from here, let's look at where we are right now, which is I make the items and I sell them, which is obviously not a scalable business because I'm one little person. There's another avenue that we're looking into where we sell that upcycled yarn and kits to people who are crafty, who want to make their own creations, and that's a potential revenue stream. My particular favorite option is to grow this business and save the most material from the landfill by providing the opportunity for underemployed people to make a little extra money by creating these handmade products for the consumer. And with 53 million people in the US who know how to knit or crochet, they might actually be able to monetize a skill that they already have. So we would then provide the platform to facilitate the sale of the item, potentially along with the story of the person who made it, and pay the creator a portion of the sales price. This reinforces our triple bottom line and not only helps to save the planet, but helps to benefit people who may be struggling financially by working with their hands to create. And with a number of seniors in our local area, I think it could be a great opportunity. With enough clothing currently on the planet to last the next 6 generations, it's imperative that we find something to do with this waste product rather than continuing to mass produce textiles that cost very little to fabricate and deplete our natural resources while discarding what we've outgrown. And with 88% of global consumers saying that they would reward companies that address social and environmental issues with greater loyalty, the opportunity is ripe to move forward on this upcycling and repurposing. I'm Emmy. Secondhand clothing has been a passion of mine for practically my entire life, mostly just for personal use. But 5 years ago, I saw the opportunity to help this secondhand clothing that I care so much about reach other consumers as well. Since then, I've single-handedly kept nearly 3,000 articles of clothing from being discarded or shredded and instead introduced back into someone's closet. But that wasn't good enough for me. The hundreds and hundreds of pounds of clothing I saw every day that wasn't desirable as is and was clearly being underutilized is what moved me to make this change. And my office view looked similar to what you see here most days when I was working. There's just too much clothing for these nonprofits and donation boxes to process without the in-store demand of people actually buying the secondhand clothing. So that's when I began to start on this new path of personally disassembling unwanted clothing and reassembling it into something new of value. And the only way to go from here is up. This US sustainability market is currently valued at around $150 billion. And then, excuse me, the global recycled textiles market, though relatively young, is expected to reach $7.6 billion by 2027, with North America projected as the most lucrative market. So let's talk about the nitty-gritty. Through local vendors in Sarasota, we can source donated men's t-shirts for 70 cents per pound, which are perfect for transforming into yarn to knit with, which you can see in the center column. I kept some of the other things here. I think that knitting is a great place to start because it's very low barrier to entry. You just have to buy $5 knitting needles and, YouTube, and you can learn how to knit. But I like having the options here as well, so we can process a lot of different types of fabrics. So you can see that our profit margin here would be enough that we can pay our freelance knitters a very reasonable rate for knitting or sewing and still be making a profit. And these are competitively priced within the handmade category. These are cheaper than most things you'll find on Etsy. Oh, I think I'm going to take this out for tomorrow, but this is my Venn diagram. So you'll see here on the left side, we have reasonable price, and that's easy to come by, right? It's everywhere. It's fast fashion. It's taking off all over the world. People love getting cheap clothes. Who doesn't? On the right here, social responsibility is growing in people's minds, right? Unfortunately, that leads to a lot of companies greenwashing their products, which means they claim they're socially responsible. They claim these fancy things, but then their quality, their products, and their supplies don't match up. So there's some examples there. At the bottom here, so it's actually really surprising. A lot of luxury designers even are worse than some of the smaller fast fashion when it comes to industry pollutants and labor force and things like that. So usually if you have a reasonably priced, quality crafted garment, it's not socially responsible. If you have a reasonably priced, socially responsible garment, it's not quality crafted. So we're right in the middle of those three things, and that's where the magic happens. So I want to ask you guys, I want to ask for your kind of feedback on and help on what my ask should be. What should I be trying to accomplish from them, because I think that would be the place that I want to go after this.
So I don't know if that's what was purposely left out. That was going to be my first piece of feedback, was saying, well, so what's the outcome or the ask of the meeting and the pitch that you have tomorrow? But general feedback first, before hitting on that, I thought it was great. It was information dense, but I learned a few things, like the only 10 to 20% of the items donated, would end up in a thrift store, or if you brought it to a thrift store as well. And then I like the ask, which I feel like that was probably pushed to you to ask the audience something from Sven. I feel like that's kind of like his MO, right, as far as doing a pitch. But it's great because
that was actually me, but he said the same thing, that I probably got it from him. So
okay, well, because I was going to say too, that got me thinking, because then that personally was able to relate, because I'm moving in a month and I've already said I'm going to downsize my clothes, and do I just throw it out, or check the quality of them and donate? What am I going to do? So that right there, started right off the bat. There was something personal. So content wise, it was quite dense, but I don't think that there's anything that obvious that should be taken out. But of course, coming back then to what is the ask, and I guess that's what I was left asking myself. So I guess we need to know more, unless Arki, you have any feedback there too. But I guess we need to know more about what the purpose of that foundation is that you're meeting with tomorrow. And what they can provide to tailor the ask to.
Yeah.
Yep.
So to me, it sounds like perhaps contacts and I guess in general feedback, right? Maybe there are things that you haven't thought about in your model and what you're trying to do that they may have an opinion on, and they can also guide you and help you out.
Yeah.
So I think so. One thing when you were explaining about the cost of the items, right? When you were breaking down how much it costs, the cents, right, for the fabric and textile, then the skills, in a way, you also need to pay the whoever is making these items, right?
Right.
That wasn't. I don't think that or I saw it in the slide.
No, it's not. It's not in there. So, like, the point that I was trying to make is, I'm not sure what I would pay someone. I haven't quite figured that out, but I think that the price that we could charge for these things leaves enough room that it wouldn't be like taking advantage of elderly people.
Just I guess a question would be, wouldn't that amount at least needs to be the minimum minimum wage for the state?
Right, that's what I'm thinking about too. But I mean, when you think about like different gig platforms, like unrev.com, whatever, I was making sometimes $1 for an hour of work.
And is that just paid by product then? Or
right. So that's what I'm thinking, like a portion of the sales or by product. But I also, at the same time, I don't want it to be like, well, that's sketchy. Are you only going to pay these old people like 20 cents an hour? Yeah.
No, that's funny answer. How it depends on how fast their hands can work.
Yeah, knits per minute.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, but maybe that's also an opportunity to bring the prices up, right? I guess to balance things out, because as you were portraying yourself, you're in the middle. You're also aiming for quality.
Right.
So if you are really putting out a high quality product, you have to charge appropriately, right? A fair price. So I think maybe also that can be adjusted.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe the thing isn't to focus on the price. Maybe it is that it's more of like an artisan boutique item that is handmade. And so we're going for people who don't mind that. It was like, I think like there was a number that I took out of my presentation that was like 60% of people would pay up to 25% more for a sustainably produced product. Not that I need to add more numbers into my
I think that's an interesting metric, though, to have.
Yeah.
Maybe even short. Go ahead, Sven.
Now, everything you would take out of those numbers, put it in the appendix, right? At the very least, this stuff is super interesting to have in the appendix, because if that question comes up, you could be like, oh, I'm happy you asked.
Yeah.
Pull it up.
And I was going to say on the slide 2 that Arka was mentioning with the 3 columns, just keep the information there for the middle one about knitting and what that cost is, maybe, especially if you aren't interested in going in those different avenues or those 2 other types.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're only going to speak to that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the key here is that where the confusion still is throughout the presentation is that there is no decision yet as of the exact business model to pursue, right?
Yeah.
And of course, that needs to be tested, as a matter of fact, which one actually works. And, just do experiments is really kind of the next step. She only had a couple of days, right, to prepare, which was enough to just pull this together. But I think, so I'll just go through my list so you have it. I can give you the list later too, but I would do faster transitions on the slides, not like when you click, but the actual slide animation.
The actual animation.
Oh, okay.
Much faster, in my opinion. Then before the problem slide, you said your answer would have probably been, I would either put in a separate slide or have a default answer to say, usually people do this or that, right?
Okay.
Don't say what they might have thought. That kind of, depending on your audience, they might not like that. It's like, don't tell me what to think, right?
Yeah, that actually wasn't even in my script. That just kind of, I was like, oh, I forgot to say the common answers are throw it away or donate it.
Right.
And so
or even if you, again, if you have numbers, right? Like you could even say, like, bring that up. Like it is numbers heavy, but it's also, if there is like 2 numbers, 90% is thrown out, 10% is donated.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impactful, right? Then on the solution side, you said just a fraction. I don't remember off the exact wording there anymore, but you have those numbers. And we talked about them before. At the very least, you can find them out.
Oh, when I was saying that was just a fraction of that right, picture is just a fraction of the amount. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if that was clear, Arky and Justin. On the left side, there was like a stack of bales, those literal bales of clothing, right?
So that was one thing I was going to say too, is I think last week you had a better photo, I think, that wasn't cropped out like that showed in the warehouse, right? That was a piece of feedback I forgot to mention. Last week you had it, and it was showing the I think I had a much better visual of scale of how much that is.
Cropping everything was what I took so long on. I cropped everything. I made all the graphics myself.
It was tough to get a sense of scale, though. The other one, it was in the warehouse with the massive warehouse building behind it or inside of it, and that gave a sense of scale. While this one, it kind of looked like clip art almost, so it was tough to tell.
Okay.
Yeah, the design is good, right? But you lose information in visual cues which you didn't even think about. It's a good point, Justin. But yeah, again, use the exact numbers, right? Like I think if you say one bale here, which is 1,100 pounds, represents only, like 1/10,000th of what's thrown out every day, or something like that, right? Like you kind of because it your market lends itself to kind of really layer on this injustice happening in the clothing market, right? And really rile your audience up. It's like, no, how could we, right? And that is really kind of the emotion you almost feel. So really lean into that. I think that's totally fair to do. And the business model slide, I think the flow chart's too small. There also, and how you present it. I know you don't have those decisions yet, but there needs to be more decisiveness in there. I think it's good that you had the one arrow, well, I can do it, right? But of course, that's not really making much impact. And then what I was missing there, which we talked about before, was the straight up yarn sales, right?
I have that on there.
In that slide?
Yeah. It's the other one over to the left. We sell yarn and or kits to customer.
Oh, well, for somehow I kind of only heard about the kits there.
Oh, okay.
And even though it's not necessarily just a customer, right? Like we make yarn. We are a yarn upcycling company.
Okay. Yeah.
We might distribute that yarn to, I don't know, Walmart, to other knitting companies.
Right.
Who knows?
Okay.
then on the team slide, again, it's the team of you right now. You could put on, right, like the CTO or something, or whatever we talked about before if you want. I think it's good. You can, again, lean more into that. You mentioned it slightly thereafter on your history, why you, right? Like the team slide wants to show why you. You have that experience. You have worked in upcycling and in upcycled fashion and in vintage resale. You sold 3,000 items over a period of time, right? Single-handedly. I think that was good. Make that more visual even. Give them the facts while you mention it.
Okay.
And then you said something about a new path right after that, the picture with the bins.
Oh no, I said this is the only way is, I don't know, it's just stupid way of trying to make a transition, I think.
No, I think it was good, but I think you can have a picture for that too, right? Like add a picture that there is, I don't know, like look at your script. There was something you said about a new path.
I'm missing a page. The only way to go is up. That's what I said. The only way to go from here is up. The U.S. sustainability market is currently valued. There's my page.
After the bin picture?
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to dive into that again offline.
Because I watched the stream.
Okay. Yeah. Very good point. Very good point. Yeah, that's all I think for now. I think solid start.
Yeah, what I would probably suggest is maybe between today and tomorrow, just go slide by slide and really condense it to the core message.
Yeah, it has been 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was a full 10 minutes.
Right? It just for every slide, there is only one core message, and that's it. Right? Just simply, and also the simple doesn't mean bad, right? Simple, I think, it makes everything clearer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, I got to run. Emmy, I thought, though, it was great, and good luck tomorrow.
Thanks.
And hopefully the feedback helped. And, Arki, I apologize.
No worries.
I didn't hear any updates from you.
Yeah.
Strike one, Justin.
What's that?
Strike one.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you guys. Emmy, good luck tomorrow. I look forward to seeing an update in Slack.
Have fun at dinner.
All right. Thank you. See you guys.
Bye.
Yeah, I agree with Arki there. Let's simplify it, tonight a little bit. I think, again, this is the first time you're going to deliver this pitch, and who we're going to talk to, he's really good at that too, and giving that feedback. So I think it's not super critical, but we need to get it down to like half, I think.
Damn.
Of what it is. You can have different types of pitches, but the longer you talk, the more opportunity you give your audience to doze off, to get an email, to get a text message, to somehow else get distracted and you lost them, right?
Well, and it's true too. If I'm more concise on this is what we're doing, it should shave off a good bit.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey.
So when do you have this pitch? Like in the morning or afternoon?
Yeah, 9 a.m.
Oh, cool. All right. Remote, I guess,
No, it's in person.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Fully vaccinated, man.
Yeah, nice. Fully inoculated.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, it's weird.
How about you? When are you talking to the VCs about dry rubs?
Oh, man, I think we're still far away. But look, maybe what I can do is to share, just to give you what happened, right? So I came up with that idea on the dry rubs. I think I came up with these mock-ups that looked bad. And I'm not saying the current version is great, but that's what I want to share. So I share screen. Okay. And I talked to a couple of people, right? One of them is a really good UX expert, and he provided some good suggestions. For example, the real estate, before I had huge pictures, right? His point is like, but where are the rubs, right? And I think here, just more concise, what it is, right? There will be a little picture, if any, otherwise perhaps a color or something to represent that it's a dry rub. And then just the title, a brief description, and all these rankings and ratings. Now, what he suggested is you have to give the users really the ability to decide what they are eating today. So I think that's a good suggestion. Is the core question is, what are you eating today? And then after you answer it, what is it that you're eating, right? Then this list will be updated and ranked by whatever you like. So you also have the ability perhaps to filter this further to say, are you looking for a specific flavor profile? And this is where rubs really are different. And this is just an example, right? Like, so you want it sweet and tangy. Well, just click the 2, and then the total number of dry rubs, assuming there is a lot in the database, will be reduced, and so on, by ingredient or by diet. So this is sort of the basic mechanism on how someone will just go and explore the rubs. Of course, I guess if you're not specifying anything, you can get the most popular ones, right? Or the highly rated ones. And when you try to, for example, create a new rub, when you're actually trying to actively use the app, like making something your favorite, or create a new rub, or remix, for example, you found something that you like, but you think it's wrong, or you want to enhance it, you can remix. The system will copy or pretty much create a carbon copy and then you can add what's missing and save it as your own. So that's the remix. And then the idea is that for these features that really are associated to creation, those you need to register for. Otherwise, you will just be able to browse through the rubs. So again, I didn't really find or put the effort into finding a good designer to create an icon. So I just put together this just almost pixel art on a dry rub, what I think it's a dry rub. And I've been throwing this out there, right? Like on Twitter. It's, very no response. I mean, a lot of views and so on, a lot of clicks on the content. I've been also monitoring the website, right, with the Google Analytics, and then I have visits, and that's interesting. That these are at least this idea has received the most visits. So I guess at least people are curious about what it is. Also on Instagram, I'm using my account where I have some followers I just put these screenshots and asking the community for feedback. But only one person that I know personally who is also into these dry rubs and barbecue, he lives in Texas. So it was very kind of superficial feedback, but at least he said, well, I'm into barbecue. I would definitely give it a try. So let me know when this is up and running. So with that, I think what's next is to continue to iterate over this, to have more interactions with whoever I can, who actually would use this or has an opinion on dry rubs and so on. And from there, come up with the definition of the MVP. And once I'm convinced and that has been, let's say, validated, then only then start the implementation. But I think really this is the core of it. The basic functionality is there. And I think that I'm really happy to how this is moving. But also, I don't want to be jumping into coding too prematurely, because I don't want to get into this infinite cycles of iteration once you're implementing something.
So we talked about it earlier about the UX, UI, or generally design project I'm doing with these interns for co-starting. You should apply for the same thing. Excuse me. It's called Springboard, and I can send you a link. Okay. Where you just apply, you get free resources for like these interns to work through any design challenge you would have, right? Like that could be, I mean, it should be a little bit more than, make me a logo, right?
Right.
But like for you, I think you're at an interesting stage where really what you need is exactly what they're going to start on for co-starting as well, is customer development, right? Like, and then once you understand what the customers need in that domain you're working on or trying to solve a problem in, then you can kind of come up with mock-ups and designs and high fidelity designs like we already started, and then test those, right? So they are going to do something similar. They are redesigning the website here in a couple of weeks, and then they're going to do unsupervised tests with users, right?
Okay.
Where you basically just put it in front of them, a prototype, right, of the new website or the new app or what you have, which would probably be, something like take the assets you have now and make them clickable with something like InVision. InVision is an app to do that with. There's a bunch of those. And then you can just, I think InVision even has that. It's either InVision or one of the competitors for free, where you can just share, ask for feedback, right? And then people just sit on their couch and it pops up for them and they click through and it records them, their the camera and what they're saying and what they're clicking, right? Of course, they're aware of this. They want to do these user tests. So I would look into that. That would be very interesting for you. I think it starts off with like an explanation screen, what the product is about, right? And then you just dive into the product and you're like, oh, okay, yada, yada, right? You walk you through. I remember doing this with the third version of Grubbery.
Okay.
And I remember it because we were at the beach when I got my first feedback, and the guy was pretty cool. He's like, okay, I'm seeing this, and I'm assuming, if I click here, this would happen, right? So some of them are really like very, very consciously walking through the experience and sharing what they would think would happen and then what does happen. I think you should explore that. I think that would be very helpful right now.
That would be really interesting. Yeah, because I think really a lot of this app development, it's really on the user experience. And if you don't get that right, it's not gonna be as friendly to use, and people will just drop it, maybe check it out, but that's it, abandon it in no time. So really need to think about this. And I think then I've been thinking is maybe I'll put that question on Twitter, is maybe for app developers or people who are doing something similar to give some feedback. But the big question to me is, do you sell the app, for example, or do you put ads, right? I hate ads, so I'm just not naturally inclined not to do that. But on the other hand, if that's a way to maintain it and to kind of invest in future development and keep this growing, I think it's a valid option, but not my preferred one, right? The other big question is, do you go after a mobile app, let's say an Apple? Why Apple? Because that's the phone I have, right? But the other option is, why not a web app, right? That would be in a way more universal.
Just responsive.
Right. And but I think these are questions, and I think part of the iterations, I really don't have an answer now, but at least I know what the concept should be. I think also, talking about the price, I was looking into dry rubs, right? And people, you buy a dry rub from wherever, a supermarket or anywhere, I would say between $5 and $10, right? Of course, the quantity varies, but I think that would be a good price point for the app. Why? The rationale behind it is it's like buying one dry rub that will last you forever.
Right? Also, you know what you should consider? I think dry rubs would probably, you need to look this up, fall under the cottage food law.
Okay.
So which means you can make and sell them without commercial kitchen or anything like that, right?
I see.
Which means you could, and not to throw too much at you there, but just write it down somewhere and think about it, become like a dry rub marketplace where, the people, they create them and they also offer them for sale, right?
Exactly. It's interesting about this because on my Instagram stream, I have really a bunch of people that I've seen, they had their own private accounts and they let's say, are turning it into a dry rub business. Mm-hmm. And I need to look into it, but the idea that I had is that this would be great, let's say, I don't know, pilot, they are not customers, but partners, right? Where they could advertise and sell their dry rubs with their brand on this marketplace.
Yeah.
And I think that would be also a mechanism for them to get exposure, right? Or hopefully this grows into thousands of people using the dry rub app, but I think that would be a channel for them to sell their rubs. I guess the other idea is that if you could automate the creation of dry rubs, right? I don't know. It's just
AI. Dry rub.ai.
what I mean is that if you like something and someone orders it, if someone is dry rub is super popular, if you could just actually manufacture that dry rub in the shortest amount of time and ship it. But again, that's just another, that I think that branches off into something completely different. I think right now I'm focused on creating the only app for dry rub sharing and, discussion. That's it. It's very simple what I want to make. And I don't think this is a company or anything like that, but it's an app and I want to build the app because I would use it. I would love to use it. Yeah.
Find the confirmation that other people would like to use it too, and figure out why, right? Like, what's the problem you're solving?
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's important.
Like, talk to the people on your Instagram, not yet maybe about here's the design for this dry rub app, but like, what problems do you have with dry rubs?
Yeah, all right.
Like, I don't know. This is the wrong question to ask, of course, but I think you see where I'm going with this.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So right now, I mean, I'm not rushing it also. I mean, of course, building in public, there's always the danger that someone hears about it and they even, it's not like they are doing it maliciously, but you hear about it, then tomorrow or a week later, you wake up, oh, I'll make this dry rub app. It doesn't exist. They make it before me, but look, it's an app, right? At this point in time, it's like, I think I value more the process and building something that is actually useful and doing it right than, the potential outcome. So
they could do it the week after you launch too, right? What's the difference?
Right. Yeah.
I think is it about speed? We don't even know because you don't know the market yet, right? If you want to consider that, then you have to approach it like Emmy's pitch, right? And really dive deep into, okay, what's the market potential here for this company who might be behind this app? But I agree, that's probably not yet what this is about. I think you're getting into a niche you're excited about. And I think there is a business model somewhere. You might not know yet what that is.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not rushing it. So these probably next couple of weeks will be a lot of interaction. I'll really, now that I'm super excited about this, I am trying to be more active on Twitter. And of course, now it reaches nobody responds, but that's not the point, right? The point is building in public and just building that history and traceability to how it was made. And I think that later may be beneficial. But for now, it's just really try to expose it, keep iterating, talk, and think about it. I think sit down and think about it deeply.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did have on the ad note. I hate ads too, but like as an app user, I'll click through 3 ads if it means the app is free or whatever, So I would say that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Yeah, right.
Usually.
I agree.
I don't know if I've seen apps. So can I ask you a question? Have you seen apps where you have the choice? I think there are many like that, right? But if you pay, you remove the ads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get the ads. Yeah, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, it's like the pro version removes the ads and then gives you something more, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, again, right? This is not, at least not yet, anything which I would think has like some crazy pro angle to it, right? Like, what would be the pro angle? We don't know. You don't know if there's enough usage yet, anyway. So,
right.
Like I use a podcast app, for example. It has ads on the bottom. I don't really care. There's a pro version which doesn't have that. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit annoying. Like some apps, this one doesn't, but some apps, how they kind of pop it up right when you're trying to click play.
Yeah.
Like as long as you don't do that, you're fine.
Right. Yeah. No, interesting. Yeah. So we'll see, right? And again, but these now are the questions that I wasn't thinking about last week, but now I need to start thinking about all these options, right? Also the web versus mobile. It's
also, could you think about ads differently? Like as in sponsors, it's very unlikely that you're going to have success with that because you don't have a track record yet. But I could see it. Like, let's say you were already building apps now for 2 years, and usually your apps get like 50,000 users in a matter of a couple of weeks, right? If that was the case, you could approach, I don't know, a popular dry rub or a popular spice brand, and have them sponsor this app, the full app, right?
Mhm.
Like dryrub.me by, I don't know, pepper company.
Yeah.
Or salt, right? Or something. Like something which pepper is probably in almost every dry rub, right? So like that would be kind of interesting,
Where, that's interesting, right?
Like, almost look at it like you're a creator, right? You get sponsorships for creating these niche apps.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I have an idea too. If it was like by McCormick spices, and then of course in every dry rub recipe, like you have the link to that spice on Amazon, and you only show their spices.
And affiliate links.
Right. Yeah. It is interesting. That angle is also very interesting. You're right.
Like, so affiliate links you can of course do right away. You can reach out to some companies and see if they specifically have an affiliate program rather than going through Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. But again, that's not going to make you a millionaire either. But I think if this becomes popular, I could totally see someone sponsoring this because, again, it's not going to make you a millionaire, but they might sponsor it for $50,000 for a year or something, So it's like, basically what I'm trying to say is there is other ways to think about advertising, less intrusive advertising, right? Not just banner ads.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah.
You remember the guy?
I get it. I think that opens up an interesting line of thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So still early for this too, but you could start exploring it. I mean, hell, there is like even how YouTubers operate, right? Is like that. Like you get a sponsor for a product you endorse, kind of. And what's interesting, if you got that, then they will help you shape the product, right? Because like Emmy said, if it was McCormick spices, then they might want their brand worked into it somehow, or like the buy now button or something, right?
Yeah.
Which
absolutely, that makes sense. Right. Yeah, so we'll see how this evolves, but I'm excited. So this changes everything. Once you really are into it, it changes the whole dynamic of this building in public. So it's good.
What's your immediate next goal for, like, say, because actually I think we should do that next week as well. Once we do a check-in with everyone, kind of a temperature check on the peer group in general, we should also check on to our high-level goals, because you guys remember in the beginning of the peer group, we actually set a high-level goal, and now we are just doing these weeklies, which of course those are the more important, but we should also once a month, I think, look at, hey, am I on track on my high-level goal? Like, as a matter of fact, I think both of yours completely changed, right? Yeah. And revise that, and then once a month, kind of look at that. It's like, hey, what is my next bigger milestone I'm working towards, right?
Right. Yeah, I agree. Right. Yeah, but for now, my goal is be the dry rub master of the world.
that might not be the short-term goal.
No, and also the way I think about it is like these powders. I mean, what changes are the ratios, but it's very simple because there is no process other than mix. So it's really more like I almost see it like open sourcing dry rubs, right? And I need to go to the supermarket and buy a few of these dry rubs, because I'm sure they all come with the nutritional information, and there you can see at least what ingredients they have.
Yeah.
Right. And then maybe the community can tweak it to make it taste the exact same thing.
Yeah, that would be another angle, right? Like you could have these challenges inside the dry rub community, right? Like who gets the popular, hot hogs mix just right or something.
Right. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of one guy. I don't know where he lives, but he has a podcast also on barbecue. He has his dry rub brand. So I'll probably try to reach out.
Yeah. Hey,
my son and I are fans. We don't miss any of his videos, and then that it would be super cool just to talk to him on his podcast.
Yeah, so, you never know. Is it pretty popular or?
Yeah. He's a big, a huge guy in the barbecue community.
In the barbecue community. That's pretty interesting. Yeah. So see, now you're going niche into niche. I love it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That's another thing you could do too, right? Like the building in public is start experimenting with these dry rubs, right? So you were already doing this and kind of documenting your barbecuing experience, but maybe you could do I don't know, like a little podcast or YouTube series. I'm feeling spicy, right? And then every week you're trying a new ratio, a new recipe, and the focus on the rub, right? And then of course you could cook something too with it, and then you taste it, and
right, and also start building that encyclopedia of dry rubs.
Yeah, right, exactly. Those would be your dog feeding, right? You're trying the recipes, you put it in your app,
right? Take a nice picture of it, right? And also build that the content for the app, at least to bootstrap it, right?
Yeah, and it's a distribution channel, right? So your YouTube creates a distribution channel to drive people to the app. Yeah. Just like whatever link would be in your description, well, it's the link to your app, of course, right? Or the direct link to that dry rub if it's a web app.
Yeah. No, yeah, this is good. Yeah, I need to
start. Should be no effort for you, right? Because you're doing it already. Just film it. Come up with a format which works for you. Not like just a couple minutes.
Right.
Short form content. Right. I think.
Agree. Yeah, maybe also even TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Videos. Because it's also kind of from the editing. The thing is a short clip, and then you just get it done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, really, it's super interesting. Yeah, good directions to think about.
Yeah, lots. I mean, you wouldn't think there would be so many kind of ideas around the dry rub app, right? But there's really a lot of angles you can go into.
Right, exactly.
There's no dumb ideas, as long as you can prove that the people want it, like that there's something, it solves something for people, right? So I think that's one of your midterm goals, or should be, what's the actual problem I'm solving? Mm-hmm. Is discovering dry rubs actually a problem, or is it a novelty?
Yeah. Yeah, good. I mean, yeah, I don't have an answer now, right?
No, that's you need to, I don't know. Statistically speaking, ask 30 people at least, right?
Right.
Cool. Awesome.
Good.
Very exciting. Both of you guys. Very cool. Actually, really, like, you can see now every week will be quite different, right? Like quite an update. So hopefully we'll get the rest of them back in here as well next week. And Timo should be live by next week, as far as I understand his messaging on Slack. We'll give Justin some more time next week as well, and then we'll see where Steve's head is at with his project.
Yeah. Good.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Yeah. Yep. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. See you.
Bye, guys.